Welcome back to the hardcore world, where in the last episode we upgraded our island, took a trip to the Nether and got ourselves a new happy friend. In today's episode I need an iron farm, but this isn't just going to be any old iron farm. I'm going to build an iron factory that will sort out all of our iron needs, and it's going to be the most automated and best looking iron farm I have ever made. In the last episode you might remember that we brought back some villagers who were flying around with the happy fella. Well, they've now been replaced by Oscar the pig, but that's mainly because I just kept losing him, or he manages to find his way into there to try and become a sheep. In between episodes, the villagers were relocated and I now have a few more of them down here in this pit of absolute shame underneath my house. This guy's not particularly happy about it, but what that does mean is that we've got a bunch of mending books now, thanks to our good friend January the librarian. So first job of the day is to get all these books on my stuff. That is looking much better. Mending has to be the GOAT book in Minecraft, right? I made a mess. But now that's done, I reckon we should crack straight on with our factory, and the first job there is to probably figure out where to pop it. And the easiest way to do that without having an elytra, I was going to say with this guy, but then he just flew away. Ooh, like I said, the easiest way is probably with our happy chappy. And while we're up here actually, that does remind me, in the last episode I did ask everyone in the comments for name ideas for this little chap. Or big chap. So after much deliberation, their name is Echo. Thank you to Ash for that name idea, expert commenting from you. I guess the issue with naming them up here though is we can't see if our happy ghast is happy with that name, can we? He looks pretty chuffed. Not sure Oscar's feeling it though. Anyway, back to the task at hand, and I am looking for somewhere to put the factory. Now we haven't extended over this way or around here yet, but seeing as we have the crane over here, I kind of think that this is a little bit of an industrial area that would work out quite nicely for an iron factory. So I jumped down from Echo and got to work clearing out trees and flattening the area out to see what we had to work with. And I reckon this space here is going to work nicely, and eventually we can join up the paths to what we've got coming over from the bridge. For the farm itself, I am thinking of doing the farm underground, but then sending all the bits up from the farm back with redstone shenanigans into the factory to be factoried. And this is where Echo comes in useful. Because now, rather than building a massive tunnel from the pit of shame with the villagers in over to the iron farm location, I can just lead them over using Echo as our taxi service and then turn our 3 willing volunteers into an underground iron farm. Alright, don't look so happy about it. Which is exactly what I did, and I've made this type of iron farm loads of times before, and generally they are really easy to make. That was until when trying to get the zombie in to scare them, I let the villagers all out by accident, they legged it, and then we all started getting attacked by zombies. Eventually though, we got them back down in the hole, got ourselves a new zombie, and then the farm was working an absolute treat. That was until, after leaving it running for a little while to build up, I found a grand total of 3 iron ingots in there. So then after poking around a little bit, I realised that where I'd flattened out the area to build the factory, I'd stupidly left a whole load of iron golem spawnable blocks around, which now I need to sort. Several buttons later and the farm is now working as planned. For now, I'm just going to leave the golems burning down here. I do have a plan for something a little bit different a little bit later, but for now let's just leave it building up a nice supply of iron down here. Because now I want to get straight on to building the factory. And for the factory, to help me with the shape and some inspiration, I found this reference image which looks like the perfect kind of layout for what I want to make. And to build it, I'm obviously going to need a lot of materials. Amongst other things, I feel like I'm going to need a fair few bricks. Nah, we're going to need a lot more than that. Yeah, that's probably about right. So if we're going to need that many, let's absolutely decimate this lush cave with Silk Touch. We can then break down this huge tower of clay. This is very satisfying, by the way. And then we can stick all this on to smelt, and head off to grab a load of other bits. And several hours of gathering stuff and crafting later, we now have a bunch of chests all full to the brim with stuff to build a factory. We're probably also going to need to run and grab the bricks from upstairs too, right? Yeah, still going, and I got a little bit impatient, so went a bit crazy with the furnaces. But I can grab these and make them into some proper bricks. And then we have the fun job of moving everything over to the build area. So we now have everything over here, and I even organised, guys, you'll never believe it. We've got all the wood stuff here, we've got the stony bits and bobs in these ones, and then all the random junk stuff at the end over here. It will never last. We have our reference picture, and basically it's just a big box that overlaps another big box. So it should be simple enough, right? Only one way to find out, I suppose. And this is where our good buddy Echo comes in pretty useful again, because we can fly over here and... You know what? I think that is pretty spot on. And looking at how big it is, you can see why I needed so many bricks. So let's put those bricks to good use and fill in the walls, shall we? And the walls are done. And for the walls, you can see it's mainly the bricks, but you can also see that I've chucked little bits of granite in there, but I've popped in some packed mud in the edges and little bits of mossy stone in there to make it look like it's all worn away. I've also chucked in little bits of dirt and rooted dirt in there as well, which surprisingly goes pretty nicely with the granite, just to be proper daring. And I reckon it does look a little bit like a factory, but obviously at the minute it's missing all that character that you need to make 2 boxes of blocks look like a proper build. Now I have a bunch of bits in here that will probably help with that, but there's something missing. Because factories have pipes everywhere, don't they? Transporting, I don't know, like factory stuff. And I reckon using some of the weathered copper to make pipes would make quite a lot of sense and would go really nicely with the bricks. The only problem is I don't have much copper at the minute. But luckily for me, when I was digging for diamonds in between episodes, I found this. So I'm being brave and heading straight in to rob it for some copper. Probably gonna have to deal with some mobs too, I guess. So the plan here is to do as few mobs as possible for the most copper as possible. And from what I can see, this whole area here is literally just that slime spawner. So this should be simple enough, right? And an unbelievable prize to go with it. Okay, yep, this is the last chap. And there is definitely nothing else in here. Other than some pots, which probably would have been useful earlier when I was crafting the bricks. And a bamboo sign. But now those green slimy bogies are done with, I could just start rinsing all the copper here, but it does feel a little bit lazy just doing one spawner. So maybe we can venture around here a little bit and see what's on offer. Okay, yeah, that should be a little bit more tricky. Hi lads. Oh god. Uh-oh. Ah! There's loads of them! Oh my god. Hello. See ya! Where's all the other guys? I can hear a baby one somewhere, so that's not good. Oh! Jesus! Where the hell did you come from? Oh! Oh my lord! Oh, you are annoying. Did any of you drop down here? Hello? You alright, lads? Sorry. You're just gonna have to leave, I'm afraid. Oh! A baby one! A baby one! These are like the most annoying mobs in the game, he says as he deals with it with ease. There's definitely some more zombies around because I can hear them. Where are you? Oh, another one of you. Where'd you go? Oh, there you are. Ow! Ow! Ah! Uh-oh. See ya. Oh, thank you. Is there any more around here? Oh, there you are. Come back. Oh, you're so annoying. Oh, you're so annoying. Thank the Lord he's gone. Alright, we got 4 keys. Shall we have a look down here and see what stuff we can get out of these? Under lock and key, baby. Some rubbish arrows, some probably rubbish armor. Yeah, that is rubbish. Ooh, an armor trim. Nice. What was that? Ooh, a bolt armor trim. Decent. Okay, I'm gonna dump the junk stuff off in here. And now that the slightly more chaotic spawners are done, I can say I've done a trial chamber now. So now time to rob as much copper as I can without all those mobs spawning again. I think that'll do for now, seeing as I've completely ruined how this place looks. To be honest, I've barely touched the sides with how much copper I've took. There's still an absolute ton left, so I'm never going to need a copper farm, am I? If we have a cheeky look at what we got, this is the junk barrel. I say junk, got a couple of diamonds, got the nice armor trim, and this very snazzy music disc called Creator that I've never heard of before. But then obviously what we came for is this bad boy. We got an absolute ton of copper, and that's going to keep us going for quite a while. Now I just get the fun job of taking it all home, and then we can get cracking on finishing our little factory. I'm back at the building site, and I have a complaint to make. I was just getting the actual copper blocks that I want together, and I thought I was being super clever getting all this waxed copper stuff. Only to find out that you can't make copper trapdoors out of wax stuff, and you need copper ingots. Which sounds fine with all this copper that I've got, but not when you need like 150 of the bad boys. Which is precisely why I have this happening, and it's all going around the back as well. And my poor bees are going to have to work overtime to get me all the honey that I need to wax it when it's all weathered. But in the meantime, we can at least start to detail this build just without any of the copper stuff. And the first thing that I want to do is to put a roof on these 2 boxes. And for that, I'm going to use blocks of the polished, stony and andesite variety. Let's do this! That's looking good, and we're starting to get some trapdoors oxidized as well, which helps a little bit given how many there is. I think next up we need to put like a little trim around the edge of the 2 boxes. And for that, I think we're going to try and use a little bit of tough brick. And when Echo moves out of the way, you can see it is looking much better. I've added these pillar things in at different points on the walls, and also some blocks around the corners just to give it that little bit more depth. I also used scaffolding to get up and down, but actually that looks kind of legit because you would need a way to get up there if it was a factory, so I'm probably just going to leave that there. The next thing I think we need to do is to fill in these windows so it looks a little bit less like a face. Now for the standard windows, I'm just going to go with some glass blocks, but I'm also going to mix in some glass panes as well, so that mixes it up and makes it all look a little bit more smashed up. And then we can surround the window with some trapdoors down here and up here, so it's like a little ridge above the window, and put some fence gates underneath it just so it holds it up. So that'll be our basic window, but I also want to box off some of the windows so it looks a bit worn down, like either someone has tried to break in and steal the iron, or maybe a golem has tried to break out. So for some of them, we'll go for some trapdoor action, a little bit like just that. And for the others, we'll keep all of the frame stuff in there as well, but just bang in some iron bars, just a little bit like that. And now all of the windows are in, and thankfully it does look less like a face. I think now it's time to ramp up finishing the outside of this build and make it look like a proper factory. And maybe these annoying trapdoors might actually start to turn green. And the first thing to do to finish off the outside is to do something with this giant hole on the side, which I turned into like a shutter / loading bay kind of thing. Next up, to add some different heights to the build, I wanted to add a big smoky tower thing, and the theory there being that the fumes and stuff from the factory will shoot out of these. We also added a very subtle message which you should absolutely follow. Then after collecting up most of the trapdoors, not this guy who's being a complete moron, we got to work using the famous copper blocks and the trapdoors to create all this pipework dotted around the place. This just gives it that factory look, including some connected up to the towers as well to transport like factory stuff. Then it was on to finishing touches like this Minecraft thing moving stuff around and a load of stuff on the top of the build which is supposed to look like solar panels and mechanical stuff. And with that done, and with a path all done leading up to some stairs, I think this build is looking the absolute bee's knees, even if I say so myself. I think eventually I probably need to update the surrounding areas around here, to be fair. A factory sitting on grass probably doesn't make much sense. But honestly, I am really chuffed with how this thing came out. I think it looks proper good, but for now, more importantly, we need to add an interior. If we head down here, the farm has been chugging along very nicely indeed, and we now have a fair bit of iron, well, too much iron built up. But obviously right now, this doesn't look anything even remotely like a factory. Until now, of course. Wow, that was actually some incredible editing. So let's take a look at this place, but not just casually take a look, because it's time for Average Redstone with AverageSnow, teach you all the things that you need to know. Yes, it's time once again for an incredibly average snow to talk through some incredibly average redstone. And when I say incredibly average, that is probably an understatement because this has got to be some of the worst redstone ever. But I think it works. So let me talk through how all this works. So down here we have our underground iron farm with our zombie, our villager mates, and our iron guy meeting his demise in the lava. These hoppers then send the proceeds into this dropper which shoots it out thanks to all this stuff into the water stream. And by the way, the original plan was to send them up into the factory where they would burn, but they kept getting stuck at the top of this little water stream. So I just got ragey and gave that up, so if anyone knows how to get golems into a water elevator, please let me know. This water takes it all the way down here to another dropper setup that we've got over here, and that shoots it into this water elevator. That takes it all the way up to the top floor of the build, and that's where the real magic happens. Because then even more water takes it into this chest over here, where we have an item filter that sends the poppies that way, and the iron ingots down into here. We've then got this fancy contraption down here which turns the ingots into iron blocks. It's then fed into even more hoppers where it joins up with its old poppy mates into another little dropper situation here. I have to sleep before I tell you any more because it's got a massive hole in the build and loads of mobs always come in. Oops. That dropper shoots them into yet another water stream which takes it all the way over to our fancy storage system over here where we should have some poppies and some lovely iron blocks sat waiting for us. Whew, that was probably a little bit convoluted, but that is average redstone with average snow for you. Average redstone with average snow, teach you all the things that you need to know. I am actually pretty proud of all that redstone, but I am also very proud of our snazzy interior. I tried to make this proper factory vibes, so at the back here we've got our golem test tubes where we can pretend that we're creating golems in a factory, like our mate test subject number 44. Obviously, actually, we are just doing some horrible things underground. We have our factory shelving over here with all our spare bits and bobs stored away in very chaotic fashion. And behind us over here, we have a very weird contraption, which I think feels a little bit like a kind of repair conveyor or something like that. And finally, you can see that I joined up this minecart all the way around to the front. So that kind of gives us a little bit of extra movement all around the place. But anyway, all in all, I am actually really blooming happy with this build. The automation, the interior, and the build are actually some of my fave I've ever done ever. I said ever too many times. But it's took me ages and I'm done and I've got loads of chests to put away. Ta-ra!